Hey there, ladies and gentlemen, Weber here, and we're back with our very first episode of RevEelooTion. First thing we're going to start doing is building Sherlock, and no, it's Holmes and Watson. Watson and Holmes, our little probe that we're going to be sending to Eeloo to basically scout it out. I wanted to get this episode out today because big news for Kerbal space program fans. That's right. Squad just announced tomorrow, which is probably today, considering when this video is going out. 0.22 is going to be going out. So this particular episode I learned quite a bit from. Yeah, I wanted to put this video out because while I'm migrating to 0.22, I want to put out a little instructional video about one of the things that I learned while in the process of doing this video. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be on this particular video, but it is something that after I did this video, I looked it up, and basically I'm always looking for ways to make my life easier when it comes to playing KSP. So here I had to actually detach this thing to find out how much Holmes's delta V was, because it won't tell me, because that's just the way the staging works, and I discovered it basically has a lot more delta V than what I need in order to land. I could even get back into orbit with Holmes if I wanted to. So the next thing I had to do was just strap it to the bottom of a rocket here and take off. Now, this is a launcher that I don't typically use. It's experimental for me. And basically the idea behind it is you have to strap these, what do you call them? Strap the struts to the outside there. Struts, beams, whatever they're called. I'm not quite sure. Strap the beams, and then the rockets get strapped by just little things right beneath them. And it essentially, it keeps all of the weight focused on one little point. It's essentially always pushing up on the rocket as opposed to the other way. It's pulling up on the center rocket, which is pushing it up, and it makes it a little more stable to do it this way. I saw a guy, he got several tons, like I think it was like 200 tons worth of spacecraft into orbit. So I've been experimenting with that a little bit. But this particular rocket, I made it a little bit underpowered. As you'll see here, this is pretty much the sloppiest orbit that I have ever done. We just barely make it out of the atmosphere here, and then start falling back. And I'm not really sure if the periaps is going to come up in time. Look how far we dipped. I didn't even realize that I had dipped this far into the atmosphere. And at this point, even though I have somewhat of an orbit, I'm still sort of wondering, oh, is this thing getting up there? You know, I know that stage that I just dropped off, that one's going to fall back. But a little bit of maneuvering here, and guess who got orbit, luckily. Yes, once again, my piloting skills aren't amazing. So here we are getting out of Kerbin's orbit, and this is actually, you know, a standard orbital get out of maneuver. That's a technical term there. It's the exact opposite of what we would do to get into Moho, because in Moho we want to leave from the other side of the planet so we can go to the inner solar system. On this one, when we're leaving Kerbin, we go from the other side of the planet to go out into the solar system. It gives us, well, it's all about efficiency. So the first, in order to get to Eeloo here, I'm starting out with this burn to match our phase angles. And once I figure things out a little bit, I don't know that I'll necessarily have to do that, because I'm going to want to make this as efficient as possible. But for this first one, I know that it has plenty of fuel, and I'm sort of testing out what's really going to happen here. Because I want to know really how much delta V can I get away with? I know in the planning video, I was like, yeah, 7,000 delta V. But really, when you start to look at the delta V to get to Eeloo, you can range anywhere between 3,500 Delta V just to get there and 14,000 Delta V. It can be more expensive than getting to Eeloo, Moho, in order to get to Eeloo, which we're going to want to shoot for that 3,500 Delta V. That's for sure. So basically, just did a little bit of fishing around using Conics Patch 0 here. And I've told you about that before. It helps loads. And here we have, if you can see that little dot moving across the screen, look at that. That's Jewel. Isn't that cool? Jewel is so close we were able to see it. But guess what? Not only was Jewel so close we were able to see it, it was also so close that it was affecting our ship by its gravity. That's right, we temporarily passed into the sphere of influence of Jewel, and it affected us in a way that I wasted another 100 meters per second of Delta V in order to get in there. Fortunately, Watson had a little bit of extra fuel. I transferred it over, and it gave us quite a bit of Delta V on this ship. Definitely enough to make orbit around the top. And we were going to use that orbit around the top in order to map Moho, Eeloo. Thinking of the last series here. So here we are, and this is actually pretty standard. I think it's going to cost us about 1,800 meters per second Delta V for insertion. The insertion burn, that's the official term, actually, the technical term. It's where we are inserting ourselves into the orbit of Eeloo. And you can use that for any other planet, but at this particular moment, it's Eeloo. So that is a pretty standard insertion burn, and much, much quicker than our trips out to Moho. Our thrust-to-weight ratio is higher because, well, we sort of don't need as much fuel. It's nice. It feels much easier now that we're going to Eeloo, which makes me really hopeful for the mission. So the next thing I did was, I just transferred all the fuel from that stage over and deorbited our transfer stage because it's sort of ugly and all I want is this little probe thing here. There it is, just getting back to our orbit. And goodbye to that, but we're in orbit around Eeloo, nice and easy, the way I like things. Yeah, that's why we're doing such a complicated manned mission out here to Eeloo, right? So we got this thing, and I'm going to extend the solar panels because it looks really cool with these solar panels out here. We're far enough away from the sun. We need the big ones. That's right. In case you didn't know, the further away you get from the sun, the less light you get. Bill Nye recently released a video on it that's really neat, talking about the new NASA mission that's going to go map the center of Jupiter. It's very cool. If you don't know about that, check it out. I will put a link in the description for you. So after I mapped Eeloo, decided, you know what, there's not much else outside of the center. So this time we're just going to be going for an equatorial landing, and I think that's going to make things a little bit easier on me, but also we'll have a chance to check out some of the more interesting features on Eeloo. And the plan for landing, the Kerbal scientists want to be able to explore both the brown spots and the white spots. They want to find out what exactly all that white stuff is and check out the brown stuff while they're at it. And I'm not trying to be gross. I just mean the brown part of Eeloo and the white part of Eeloo. I know it looks like snow, but Kerbal scientists aren't entirely sold on the fact that this might be water ice. So here we have Holmes comes down and a nice landing because Mechjeb is doing it for us. Comes on, turns things on, and checks out all the science that we can do now before tomorrow when we'll actually be able to do some science, and moves up. And I've decided that now what it's going to do after explored a little bit of the white stuff is we're going to go check out the brown parts of Eeloo. What I want to do is leapfrog around here because not only are we checking out Eeloo, but we're also looking for a nice landing site. That's not quite good. We were sliding down. Still trying to find a nice landing site. This is a great thing about having a lot of delta V on your probe when you get there. You can scout out, find yourself a good place to land, nice and flat, where the Kerbals who live there don't have to worry about their, I don't know, if they're playing Chinese checkers, they don't have to worry about their marbles falling off the table. So we can find a nice flat land, come over here and land right there, and actually, nope. We're close. You can see right down there in the sort of the base area of the crater is where I want to go for. And this is me manually flying this guy around here, just sort of moving down, making sure I stay a little bit above the surface of the planet and hit our auto land again. And this is great. I think this is a perfect landing site. I think the Kerb scientists are going to be happy with that. And with that, I'm Weber. I'll catch you in 0.22. And as always, stay entertained.